Tom.
And today I'm delighted to be talking to Sachi Vixen. I don't go back 10 years, and neither does Sachi, of course, but she was certainly one of the first designers I encountered when I came into Second Life. Sorry, I'm being interrupted by a very vociferous cat here. I'm just going to bribe her with cat treats, which should last all of 10 minutes.
I fed all of mine before I came.
You're very sensible. Yes, I omitted to do that. So, when did you first come into Second Life, Sachi? Let's start with the beginning.
It was May 2005.
Wow. So well ahead of the big bulge.
Yeah, I dabbled in a program called Active Worlds before. A friend of mine took me there to see a build called Narnia.
Right.
And it was kind of like a primitive version of Second Life. It was a pre-Second Life thing. And around 2004, 2005, people from there had started to migrate to Second Life because Active Worlds never really had a huge user base. It was, quite a small thing. And people that I knew from there were coming to Second Life, so we came over to have a look.
Right. And could you actually create in Active Worlds? Was that part of it?
I actually started to create in Active Worlds. It was slightly different to Second Life in the sense that you imported things in the way that you do now with Mesh. I didn't build really when I was in Active Worlds, but I did dabble in making 2D landscapes that you could use as like a 3D skybox.
Oh,
so
awesome.
you could make like panoramas of like sunsets and night skies and things like that, and then you could put them in their sky was like a big skybox thing. They didn't have a sky like Second Life does, so you'd set these things up in the skybox, and then it would change at certain times of the day, and you'd have this panoramic sunset or this, star, panorama. So
Right.
That was kind of a hobby, and I dabbled with doing that, but you didn't really sell them there. It was just a thing,
Just
that I played
something
around
to
with.
do, yeah.
Yeah.
So you moved over to Second Life. How quickly did you become aware that you might actually be able to start selling stuff?
In about an hour. I could see it. I landed at a hub with loads of people, and I said to them, I've got a friend here, I need to find this friend. I gave them my friend's name. Somebody messaged my friend, they came to get me. They took me somewhere and bought me some clothes. Within an hour I realised the potential of making things in Second Life. Within a week I was making skyboxes with my panoramas.
Right. And so you started off with the skyboxes with panoramas.
I did,
when did
yeah.
you move into clothes? Because you were certainly making clothes by the time I came across.
I moved into clothes by about July. I moved into clothes mostly because this prior to that, with the skyboxes, I actually met quite a lot of people who had long established businesses in Second Life, in sandboxes, when I was first making the skyboxes. So
Right.
it's kind of like the list of people that you met in there is kind of like a who's who now, but of course we were all just starting out then.
Yeah. Yes.
And my friend Damon, who came over with me from Active Worlds, he in Active Worlds used to wear an avatar that was like a Catholic priest. And we wanted like priest robes in Second Life, and we couldn't find them anywhere. So I said, I tell you what, I'll have a go at making them for you. And he was about, like I got here in May, and he actually only had dial-up internet, so he was getting better internet in like early July, so he didn't actually arrive until July. And then when he arrived, like he wanted this priest outfit, and I said, I'll have a go at making it for you. So that was it. I made the priest outfit, and then I started to make other things, and that was how Adam and Eve was born.
Fantastic. So it started off as quite a small shop selling.
Yeah, we rented a store at I can't remember the name of it now, but it was a big kind of mall place that was around back then. I'm trying to think of the name. They had a university as well later on. Where they gave people tutorials and stuff. All
right. New Citizens Incorporated, probably.
No, I can't remember the name of it now. But it was quite a well-known kind of mall, and I rented a little shop there. Within a couple of months, we rented a bit of land from somebody. We had like a quarter sim, something like that.
Right.
And by Christmas we had our own sim, so and that quickly, really.
Right. So you got very successful very relatively quickly, and you diversified as well, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean,
so
I'm a little bit of I suppose I'm a little bit eclectic in my tastes, and I kind of, I'll see something and I think I want to make that, or I'll get an idea for something and I want to make it. So the store kind of developed in that way. I wanted a skin. I couldn't see exactly what I wanted, so I started to make skins, and our whole kind of product base developed in that way, really. We'd see something and we want something, and we wouldn't find exactly what we wanted, so we'd start making it. We even started to make terrain stuff and trees and stuff for our other sim, simply because we at the time we weren't seeing what we wanted, so we decided to have a bash and make it. And that's kind of the story of our whole Second Life, really, is just
having a bash.
Having a bash, really, having a go at it.
I know when I came in 2007, I loved finding your store because you actually sold clothes that, I was very quickly setting up Prim Perfect. I decided that was the way to go, and I wanted to go around and start selling advertising, and I did not want to be falling out of my blouse and have a skirt that was riding up to my waist. So I was just so thrilled to find Adam and Eve, which was selling business clothes.
Yeah, as I say, it's always been very eclectic, and in some ways it's not. It's almost my downfall, because I don't focus on something specific, and I think if you focus in a way, it's more successful. But I've always kind of had a wide variety of ideas and things, and I'll think I'll go and make that. And at that point, I think there were very few people making business clothes and things like that. So we thought, why not have a go? Also, back then, we used to have.
Go on.
We used to have a lot of lindens around, like back in the day. The lindens used to hang out and wander around the grid, and most of the old store owners kind of knew lindens, like on an intimate basis and stuff. So you'd be chatting to them, they'd be wandering around, and they'd say, "Oh, you should make some business clothes. We always need business clothes for stuff when we're in here and meetings and stuff." And the idea kind of came from there, really.
That's great. I was going to say, I'm actually wearing that very first business suit that I bought from you. You may not recognise it, but this is your grey plaid suit, circa February, March 2007. I think it still looks pretty damn good, actually. It's just some clothes.
Remember that, actually?
There we go. I'm not sure I have any suitable model poses, but
it's not bad.
It's not bad, is it? I mean, I like the detail on the back, you know, where the jacket is at the back, and then there's the nice button on the skirt. And there's a full skirt too, but there didn't seem a lot of point in wearing that, as it would just fall through the chair. But
I've actually got a picture of the first thing I made after I made the priest outfit.
Right.
It was a Victorian day dress, and it was, the seams were pretty unmatched, and it was pretty crappy, really. But it was my first thing.
But you liked it, and
I liked it.
I think that's great. If you did something like that you appreciated. That was one of the other things I liked about yours. You were actually had a whole range of clothes. So I got a few historical numbers from you too.
Yeah, I've always had an interest in history, so there's always been a fair bit of that mixed into Adam and Eve, really. In fact, I'm still learning mesh, and I'd like to make some mesh things that aren't really contemporary clothes, but you know, I've got some kind of strong ideas on what I'd like to do when I feel that I'm good enough.
I think it would be lovely to have more mesh fantasy and historical clothes.
Yeah, that's kind of the direction I'd like to go in.
Yeah, and one of the wonderful things about mesh is for the first time you can wear a corset that works properly. You can have tight lacing effects on Victorian clothes, which you really just couldn't do with pre-mesh.
A close friend of mine is very involved with Game of Thrones, and they're friends of George Martin, the writer. They've actually written a book with him about the world that Game of Thrones is set in.
Right.
And at the moment, we're kind of trying to design a sim based on the books, but I'd really like to make some of the clothing, when I get a bit better at clothes. I really would, And I love all those kind of like clothes that are kind of like intricate, like almost like armour for women, but not armour, like metal kind of tops and things. I love stuff like that, so I'd love to make some things like that.
And things like that, yes. And that would be wonderful. That would be fantastic to see.
But my imagination's probably a bit better than my ability, though.
When I first met you, one of the things you were doing, which always intrigued me, was you were making custom avatars for people coming into Second Life. Has that something that's carried on, or was that just a kind of thing when Second Life was being very popular?
Done any of that recently, but there was a time when Second Life was very in, and we had a lot of people coming in who wanted and needed avatars based on themselves. We got involved with somebody who was bringing real life movies into Second Life, and he was getting like real film stars to come in and have like interviews and press conferences as an avatar in Second Life based on new releases of new movies and stuff like that. And of course he wanted someone who could make an avatar of Bruce Willis, that looked like Bruce Willis for Bruce Willis to wear,
Yes.
And so we got asked to do some stuff like that, and we were doing that for a while, but as everything changes and grows and moves, and the media is less interested in Second Life than it used to be. But that was a very exciting time. It was a lot of fun.
That must have been fun. Yes, that must have been really fun to do. So I mean, you've done this whole wide range of different things. What would you say was the favourite thing you ever made?
Oh.
The thing that you still love?
That's a hard question. I think what I like to do the most is to make skin. I really enjoy making skin. To me, every new skin is like a new character. And I just really like making girls. I think that's probably my favourite thing.
You do make.
I do make male. Yeah, I do make male skins. Although, to be honest, I need to do some new ones. I've retired a lot of my old range of male skins, but I probably like making girls more than boys because I am a girl. But I do make males as well.
Have you
I
ever
think the next step
experimented?
really though is mesh.
Right. Have you ever experimented with skins for, say, older avatars?
I have. I made an old lady skin once that I never really did anything with, but I did make it.
Did you find that difficult or easy? Or
it's not really any more difficult than making, any other skin, but it's not always easy to project the age, the creasing of people's faces and things like that onto an avatar. It doesn't always look quite right, so it can be a bit more complicated in that way.
Right. Because sometimes people say that they would like older avatars. Not often. Most people are quite happy to look sort of 20 or 30 something, I think. But
probably with materials, when materials are introduced more into Second Life, I think things like that will look better than they have before.
Yes.
Because you've got more
depth.
depth.
Interesting thing. Yeah.
With materials.
Yes.
And you have, generally.
Have you been over to Hippotropolis, where Oz Linden has some mesh, some examples of materials out?
No, I haven't actually, but I have some experience with materials through when we dabbled with Blue Mars. We went over with the Caledonians. Desmond Shang opened a world on Blue Mars, and we went off with them and joined in for a while. We've still got a little shop there actually, but Blue Mars hasn't really kind of evolved very much. And everything that you load into Blue Mars has materials with it.
Oh, right. So
we have some experience of that.
You've been waiting for it impatiently over here then?
Kind of, yeah. Particularly, what was particularly popular for me there was my eyes, because I was making eyes, but the eye had materials on them, and they were really quite striking, with the material layers, and they were very popular. So I think that's going to be something that's going to be quite interesting in Second Life as well. I think it's going to really give some things more depth than we've ever seen before, Yes,
if you can download the special materials viewer from the Linden Lab site, and then you can go to, let me type the name in, I think it's spelt like this. Trying to spell it correctly. Ash may have the actual link to hand. It's spelled something like that. Anyway, Hippo starts with a few. Yeah, and they've got examples up there, including of skin. You can see this piece of skin. It's actually really rather creepy. You see this piece of skin moving, sort of flexing and you see the effect of materials on it, but because the skin is completely on its own with nothing around it, it's a bit creepy.
Yeah.
Most of the others are really nice, like June Dion has got a katana there and you can see the light on that.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to materials. I think it's going to be very exciting, but I really want the mesh deformer.
Yeah.
I really want the deformer.
A lot of people really want the mesh deformer.
I'm going to be very disappointed if they ship materials before the deformer.
Yeah. You've talked about mesh. Have you been working with anything in mesh so far? You said you're learning it. What kind of things have you been working on?
Well, sitting over there is the Mesh Diva, and we have a brand together, a mesh clothing brand. So I've been dabbling in that, although she does the modelling for it and I do texturing. But I made what I've got on my feet. I don't know if you can see them. I've got some foot jewellery. I actually made them for her mesh feet. Because she recently started a new program where she open sourced models for her feet so that people can make shoes for them and jewellery for them. So the jewellery that I'm wearing on my feet I actually made to wear with her mesh feet.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And I've also made a mesh hair, which I don't actually have on sale, but yeah, I've kind of dabbled in a couple of things, but I'm not. I don't feel. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I don't feel that I'm. I'm quite where I want to be yet with regard to releasing lots and lots of products. I'm actually, again, being a bit eclectic. I'm currently biting off a bit more than I can chew, and trying to build a Game of Thrones sim for my friends. So. There I go again, doing something completely different. I'm building a terrain file out of mesh, which is not quite as easy as it sounds.
Wow, that will be something amazing to see, though. That sounds fantastic. I'm probably going to ask if we can come and film a Designing World show though when it's ready.
Oh, absolutely, you can. Although I just hope it lives up to expectations. Because it's the first time, so I've been badgering the Sidian over there with questions about Blender today.
I think there's quite a few people who would help with mesh. Yeah, there's one of the things that I was talking to Kane Maven and Frugja Hurenbeek, who does Duchy, and Kane Maven, of course, Maven Homes, and they were talking about how helpful they found other designers with mesh, that everyone is learning it together, so everyone has been really helping each other out, and if they have problems you can just ask and someone will say, oh God, I've had that, and someone else will say, oh yes, and this is what you do.
Yeah, people are really kind and really helpful. The only problem I find personally is I don't like to put pressure on my friends too much. I don't like to ask too often, because then you just become a bit of a pain in the butt, really. So I do try to figure it out myself, but I do get a bit stuck sometimes, or you kind of want kind of confirmation that what you were thinking is right,
Yes.
rather than not.
Rather than sort of complete guidance and classes, you just want to know that you're on the right lines.
Yeah, but I mean, although the mesh sim is not really a kind of for sale thing, it's a good project in respect to learning,
It does sound fantastic, and I'm a Game of Thrones fan, so yeah, I'd love to come and see.
Oh, cool! We're going to build. We're kind of half built the wall.
Right.
Well, we're going to. The idea is they're kind of like little, like little scenes, rather than, kind of like trying to build the whole
the Second Kingdoms.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it will be a kind of like facsimile of the wall. You know, it's not obviously going to be the wall, but it's going to be a portion of the wall kind of in the distance. And we're going to have like the black gate, which isn't actually a black gate at all. It's like a face, a werewood face. So I've been working on that a little bit today. Sidian laughed when I showed her the pictures. It looks better in Second Life than it does in Blender. So
it sounds great. It sounds great fun to be doing. So you sound as though you're really hopeful for Second Life.
Yes and no. I think it's different now. The ball game is different to how it was when I began. I think it still has a future, and I think that Mesh, and if they continue to introduce new things like materials, and if they actually get off their bum and do the deformer, I think that's all going in the right direction. But I think it's a different playing field now, and I think it's a lot. When I started, I was just like, someone who had a go, and I think now there's a lot less of people who have a go, and it's more of a professional kind of playing field, if that makes sense.
Yes,
not that I
sort of less
anybody down.
Less mum and pop and more
I
bigger
think it's
names.
less of a mum and pop industry than it was, and I think that's going to be the future, because the playing field level is just getting harder and harder. And to build up a reputation and a store and a name in SL, it takes time, and the bar is very high now. So I think it's different. I don't think it's what it was, but I do still think it has a future.
It has changed from the days when you'd go shopping in a mall and it would just be crowded with little stores, which were probably their main store, and they just had one and they would sell a bit and people would go and buy it, and that's kind of gone, hasn't it? Although there's the marketplace, of course. What do you think about the marketplace?
I think it could have been done better. There are a few things about it that I'd have liked to have done differently.
How would you have made it different? What do you think could have been done?
For a start, what I'd like, because I'm a bit eclectic and I make lots of different things, I would like to have my store categorized by tabs, so that if you're coming to my marketplace store and you want to look at my skins, you don't want to look through all my other crap, to find skin B. You want to find skin B in the skins. So if marketplace had tabs, so you had a tab for skins, tab for clothes, tab for other weird and wonderful things that I've made, it would be easier for people to look through your store and find what they want.
Right.
Because when you've been in SL as long as I have, and you have a big marketplace with stuff as old as the hills from way back when, people don't want to search all through that looking for what they want. So I think it could be organised a lot better marketplace than it is, to be honest.
I wondered.
I think as well they could categorise it a little more with like the age of how long things have been on there as well, so that you're not buying something that's very old when you'd rather have something. Well, it's just that not everybody wants. I mean, you do, believe me, you do get people. I get people all the time IM me and say, I want something of yours from 2007. My inventory is just eaten and I can't live without it,
like a certain grey plaid business suit, in fact. Yeah.
Go figure. but people do. But I think if you could categorise your marketplace as well with older things and newer things, it would just make it easier for people to find it. Maybe you could have a category for each year or something like that. As I said, particularly there are a lot of stores like me. There's people like that have been around as long as me, and they must have massive marketplaces. And how does anyone ever find anything on them? If you're looking for that hat that you must have again, you know.
Yes, I think this is a question I'm going to be asking Nikki Ree when I interview her, because she has a huge store. She's got a beautiful back catalogue, but gosh, it makes for a really huge store.
Yeah. I think marketplace could be so much easier. It could be so much better organised than it is. And as I say, I'd like more power and more control over it.
What do you think about the way that it's diverted shoppers from shopping on the grid? Do you feel that that's a problem?
I don't know that it has really, to be honest. But there's always been some form of marketplace there, and people have always shopped on it to an extent. But I think people still go to stores. I think the biggest impact on M-World stores, in my personal opinion, this is only an opinion. When we went into Viewer 3 or Viewer 2, they changed how group notices are seen. And I personally have noticed a huge change in groups and marketing stores and announcing releases since then. Before the change, you'd market a release and people would come straight away, but now the notices seem to get lost a lot more. I think that's had a much bigger impact on in-world stores than marketplace has, personally anyway.
That's very interesting. It's a topic that came up last night. How do you market? Because you have quite strong groups that you give lovely gifts to, don't you?
Sometimes I'm not the biggest gift giver on the grid. Again, I'm a bit eclectic. If I feel like giving something away, I will. I mean, I've got my own store groups, and there are other groups like What's New in SL where you can, advertise to like a wider audience of people. And, social networking, I've got Plurk and I've got Facebook and whatever, and I advertise, my wares on there. But I do think that advertising within SL was more effective before the change in group notices. I don't think they're as visible now, personally. But.
Do you use a Subscriber-matic or anything like that? Or do you just keep with groups?
I've got 2 groups. I've got my old regular group, which I'd never get rid of, because there are people that have been with me from like 2005, and I just couldn't disband that group, because it's just kind of like a thing,
I know.
But we used to call people, the group title was Having Sachi's Baby, which was kind of an in-joke, because a friend of mine was going on about how wonderful I was, and somebody said, "Sheesh, what, do you want to have her baby?" So we changed the group title to Having Sachi's Baby, and my group loved it so much. And then a couple of people got upset because they said their in-world boyfriend had seen them with the title and thought they'd been unfaithful with me. So I said, okay, I'll think about changing it, and I changed it, and then my group started spamming my Flickr with pictures of them holding my baby, because they were unhappy that I changed the title, because it was kind of a thing,
Right.
It's that group is there's a lot of love in that group. I wouldn't ever disband it. But I do have a subscriber group, because obviously people do fill up their groups, and they, there are people that don't want to be part of that group community. So I've got a subscriber as well.
So, and do you find that effective? Which do you think works best, the group or the subscriber, or is it about the same?
I think it's about the same, really.
So, we've talked a bit about the future, and we've talked about your past in Second Life. What do you think has been the biggest change you've seen over your X number of years. How many years? 8 years? 9 years?
Yeah, it's a long time, isn't it?
8 years, yes. What do you think has been the biggest change? Is there anything you really regret the passing of? Anything that you are so relieved to see the back of?
I regret the passing of many Lindens. There was a point a few years ago when a lot of Lindens were let go. And a lot of those people were people who'd been with us from the start of Second Life, and they were people that many of us knew, and they were people that were part of the community. They weren't just Lindens who worked here. And since a lot of those people were let go and changes have been made, the Lindens are much more detached from all of us now than they've ever been before. You know, they're not a part of, I don't feel that they're a part of us anymore. They're just people kind of out of sight that sort of work here. And I kind of miss that. I miss the fact that they used to, you know, they'd be about and they were part of Second Life and part of the community, and we knew them by name and things like that, you know. The company seems a lot more distant from Second Life now than it ever was before.
Yeah. I think a lot of people from the early days do regret that.
Yeah, I do. That I think would be my one big change that I think was a shame.
You've worked quite closely with the lab on some projects, like you've done quite a few things for the library, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I've worked with a number of different teams. Some of them are no longer with us. And
what was it like? What was it like to create the new Ruth?
Well, it was kind of hard work, really, because Linden Lab come to you and they say, we want like 24 avatars in 30 days, thanks. It's a bit like that. And then you do it, and then the avatars go off to them for them to have a look. And they kind of design by committee.
Yeah, that has stood the test of time, committee design, hasn't it?
Yeah,
it's
so
always
you'll
been
have
so successful.
So Tom Linden and Jan Linden will love it, and then Bob Linden will think maybe it could have pink sparkles on the shoulder, and Steve Linden will think it needs hobnail boots, and you know, it's a bit like that, really.
And it comes back, yeah. And it's wearing hobnail boots and pink sparkles, and they're looking at you saying, "Isn't it gorgeous?"
Or they'll ask me to make them.
Yeah.
Or us to make them, yeah. So it's not always the easiest job in the world, but we were very proud to be asked. You know, it's a big honour to be asked. I think, anyway. You know, we've had, or I like to think that we've had a bit of an impact on Second Life over the years, and been a bit of a pioneer of it, and that, I think that's something that I feel a sense of pride over.
Great. Are any of them in the library these days still yours? I haven't looked recently.
Quite a number of them are, yeah. I think I've got about 36 in there.
Wow. That's impressive.
It might be more. Might be 48.
Gosh. That's brilliant.
Quite a lot of the human ones are mine.
Right.
Or ours, you know, Adam and Eve's. Because I didn't work at Adam and Eve on my own. I had a partner for a number of years.
Right. So you regret the relationship with the Lindens passing. Is there anything about the new Second Life, the post Second Life, that you really enjoy?
I love Mesh. And I love a challenge. I've always loved a challenge. My dream would be to get up one morning and for Linden Lab to have said, we've decided, we've thrown out the SL avatars, here's a new one, off you go. Start again. All your inventory's gone. Off you go. I'd love that. I think that would be so much fun. I know a lot of people would probably scream, tear their hair out, but I'd love it. I think it'd be great.
As a shopper rather than a creator, I think I'd just lie down and cry.
Yeah, I think lots of people would. But I'd like it. I think I'm probably in the minority there.
We were talking about this. Gosh, I can't remember. There were a group of us talking about it. I think at SL, at the Home and Garden Expo, and we were talking about how difficult it would be to introduce a new version of the mesh, the avatar mesh, and how maybe you would actually need to have like 2 versions so that people could swap between the 2 and have their original and also have a modern one, and slowly but surely move over to the modern one. Pretty much of people are moving over to mesh clothes.
I think the problem is the logistics, probably. It might sound to us like an easy idea, but it may be that, you know, in that end of the engine, so to speak, of Second Life, it might not be that easy to do. I mean, I don't know, but I tend to think that, you know, we always have these good ideas, but sometimes you know, they're just not always feasible. Second Life was begun quite a long time ago now, and technology has moved forward. I mean, if they were starting Second Life now, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be starting it on the same kind of framework, technically, that they have it on now. So they've kind of had to evolve something older to keep it going. Whereas, you know, new things have come out like Cloud Party that run on an entirely different engine and have entirely different possibilities. So I think it may just be they haven't done that because maybe it's not possible with the technology as it stands, or what. I mean, I don't know. That's just something that I wonder sometimes.
I've always thought about Second Life that it's a bit of the sort of the Irish men giving directions to the tourists, you know, that they ask how to get to a place, and he looks at them thoughtfully and says, well, if I were you, I wouldn't start from here.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
I was going to say, we're coming up to the top of the hour now, and I was going to ask if anyone in the audience has any questions for Sachi. I hope I'm close enough to be able to see.
Type it as well.
You can type or speak them if you prefer.
In case somebody didn't hear.
I was going to say, while people are typing, one question I have: you've said several times that you're eclectic and you do a fantastic range of stuff. I mean, your trees are absolutely gorgeous,
Thank you.
they're, you know, and your landscaping stuff as well. But if some cruel twist of fate meant you could only do one thing, and you had to focus on that one thing, which of the elements would it be, do you think?
Skin. It'd be skin.
Skin.
Or texturing.
Okay, skin or texturing or
something I haven't tried yet.
Right, keep the options open. Okay. Well, we don't seem to be having any questions. Perhaps we've covered absolutely everything.
Probably just chatted
People
too
want
much.
to know. Poseidon is...
Anne's typing.
Yeah. I know all there is to know. Okay.
I never should have brought my buddy, look.
Yeah, it's always a little worrying when you do that. Okay, well, we're coming to the top of the hour, so I'm going to say thank you very much to Sachi Vixen for coming and joining me today. It's been great, and I've really enjoyed learning about the background to Adam and Eve, and it's been lovely. Thank you very much for joining me, Sachi.
Thank you very much. It was fun. Thank you. Thank you for everybody for coming.
There's another talk at 3 p.m. today. Rowan Dereth will be doing one of her art talks, Ekphrasis, with Gracie Candle. And then tomorrow there's a whole pile of talks. You can see it all on the auditorium schedule at the website. I'm going to be talking to Zandy Mars of Del Sol Furniture, who actually goes back all the way to 2003. And then later on I'll be talking to Callie Klein and Judy Chestnut about breedables, because they've got the kitty cats and the dwarfins, so that's what's coming up tomorrow. And there are other talks as well, which I'm not a part of, so but you can still come to them. In fact, I urge you to, because there's some fantastic stuff going on here. Okay, thank you very much for coming, and good night.